What if I told you that the biggest investment deal in British history just went down, and it wasn't signed in Parliament, but in a flashy ceremony between Donald Trump and UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer? A deal so massive that it's being pitched as the new cornerstone of transatlantic prosperity, a $340 billion US-UK tech prosperity package that promises quantum computing, fusion energy, civil nuclear reactors, 6G networks, and artificial intelligence dominance. Sounds like progress, right? But what if I also told you that this so-called prosperity deal is already being called a Trojan horse? A backdoor entry for American corporations to quietly take control of the UK's tech future, its energy infrastructure, and maybe even its sovereignty. That's the real story here. And tonight, we are diving deep into it. Now, let me ask you a question straight away. If you woke up tomorrow and discovered that the most critical technologies in your country, the supercomputers, the nuclear reactors, the AI systems deciding how data flows, were all being built, run, and in many ways owned by foreign corporations, would you call that independence? Or would you call it dependency? Because that is the question the UK now faces. The official name of this agreement is the UK-US Tech Prosperity Deal. Starmer's government is calling it the biggest commercial package ever secured during a state visit. Trump, never shy with superlatives, called it the next logical step in global tech leadership. The numbers sound staggering: £250 billion in cross-Atlantic investment, $24 billion pledged by US companies into the UK, and £90 billion over the next decade from Blackstone alone. Microsoft is putting in $30 billion, Google is dropping another $7 billion, and AI companies like OpenAI, Nvidia, Salesforce, and Nscale are at the heart of it. On paper, it looks like a golden age of tech is about to be unleashed on Britain. But is it really Britain's golden age? Or is this America cementing control over the UK's technological backbone? Think about it: 15,000 jobs, yes, but jobs that depend on US companies calling the shots. 12 nuclear reactors promised for England's struggling northeast, but designed, financed, and run by US firms. A massive AI supercomputer to be built in partnership with Nscale, but in partnership means under the terms of Silicon Valley giants, not under the watchful eye of UK regulators. The more you dig into this, the more it feels less like a deal of equals and more like the UK selling off pieces of its future for short-term relief. Now, let's not forget the political timing. Britain's economy is struggling. Inflation, stagnation, the fallout of Brexit, it's all weighing heavily. The Starmer government is desperate for a win. And Trump? Well, Trump sees this as a chance to declare that not only is America back, but America is leading the future of global technology. He even joked with Nvidia's Jensen Huang during the signing, saying, "You're taking over the world, Jensen." I hope you're right. But was it really a joke? Or was it the most honest moment of the entire ceremony? Here's where the red flags start waving. First, the secrecy. No one outside the inner circle of negotiators has seen the actual text of this agreement. That means British citizens, the very people whose data, privacy, and economy will be directly impacted, don't know what was given away. Nick Darren from Global Justice now put it bluntly: we don't know what we are giving away. He warned this deal could erode digital regulations, weaken the UK's digital services tax, and open the door for monopolies that crush smaller competitors. In other words, while Starmer is hailing this as investment, critics say it's the quiet dismantling of Britain's ability to regulate its own tech sector. Second, the conflicts of interest. Warren Stevens, Trump's ambassador to London, owns hundreds of millions in shares of companies profiting directly from this deal: Microsoft, Google, Nvidia. And guess what? He was also a seven-figure donor to Trump's inauguration fund. So tell me, is this about prosperity, or about insiders cashing in under the cover of diplomacy? Third, the backlash is not just political, it's cultural. Prominent artists, including Elton John and Paul McCartney, have condemned the agreement for failing to protect intellectual property. AI companies have already ingested millions of copyrighted works without permission or payment, and yet this deal strengthens their hand in the UK market. The artist's open letter couldn't be clearer: the first duty of government is to protect its citizens, not foreign corporations. And yet, this deal seems to do the opposite. Now, think about the environmental angle. Massive AI data centers and nuclear reactor projects require colossal amounts of energy. Protesters in London warned that without green infrastructure, these projects will only deepen UK dependence on fossil fuels. And who benefits from that? Big oil companies in the US, the same lobbyists with deep influence on Capitol Hill. So once again, it's not just about AI and quantum computing, it's about who controls the energy, who profits, and who gets left paying the bill. So let me ask you this, if AI giants like Google, Microsoft, and Nvidia control your country's supercomputers, if American firms build your nuclear power plants, if private US investment firms like Blackstone dominate your economic future, what does sovereignty really mean? Can Britain still say it's independent, or has it quietly signed away the keys to its own house? Here's another layer to this story. Earlier this year, the UK eliminated tariffs on US steel and aluminum and opened its markets to American agricultural goods, ethanol, and machinery. All major concessions to Washington. This deal feels less like a partnership and more like a reward. America wins on trade, America wins on tech, America wins on energy, while the UK smiles and says thank you. But is that sustainable? Or is Britain sliding into a long-term dependency that will cost it far more than £250 billion is worth? Trump framed this as progress, but progress for whom? Progress for workers in Newcastle or Sunderland? Or progress for executives in Silicon Valley and Wall Street? And what about privacy? What about security? When foreign firms run your critical infrastructure, you're not just outsourcing jobs, you're outsourcing control. The risk is that in the next crisis, whether it's cyber attacks, energy blackouts, or geopolitical pressure, the UK may find itself holding no real leverage. But let's pull back for a moment. Think about the symbolism of this deal. For decades, Britain has talked about being a global leader in innovation, about building the industries of tomorrow. Yet the biggest leap forward in decades is being handed to it as an American export. The UK's role: to host, to receive, to adapt, but not necessarily to lead. That's why critics are saying this is less about prosperity and more about power. Less about innovation and more about profit. And above all, less about the British people and more about corporations shaping the rules to suit themselves. The deal also sparks a much larger debate. Is this the future of international trade? Are we entering an era where bilateral deals are no longer about tariffs on goods, but about who controls the data, the algorithms, the nuclear plants, the infrastructure of the 21st century? If that's the case, then this UK-US deal could be the blueprint, or the warning sign, for what's coming next. So here's the cliffhanger. We are told this is the dawn of a new transatlantic partnership, a $340 billion bonanza, the biggest deal in British history. But what happens when the fine print finally comes out? What happens when the jobs aren't as many as promised, when data privacy is eroded, when AI monopolies crush local startups, when American firms hold the keys to British nuclear power? That's when the real cost of this so-called prosperity deal will be revealed. And that brings us to you. Do you believe this deal is a historic opportunity, or is it a historic mistake? Is this Starmer securing Britain's future, or selling it off piece by piece? And is Trump truly celebrating innovation, or celebrating another win for US corporations at Britain's expense? I want to know what you think. Drop your thoughts in the comments below, because this debate isn't going away. If you found this breakdown eye-opening, do me a favor, hit that like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss my next upload. Tomorrow, I'll be covering another piece of this unfolding puzzle, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, stay informed, stay curious, and I'll see you in the next one.